My brother tormented me. Since childhood, sabotaged my dreams and stole my love. Now, a $2 million inheritance forces the ultimate reckoning. I was born and raised in a small industrial town in Ohio, where the clang of factories and the perpetual haze of smoke defined everyday life. The town's streets, worn and weary, mirrored the burden I carried from a tender age. My mother's love shone brightly, but only for my younger brother, Logan. Even as a child, I sensed an invisible line drawn between us, one where every smile, every warm embrace was reserved for him. While Logan basked in the glow of maternal adoration and unearned privileges, I was left to shoulder responsibilities far beyond my years. I spent my days running errands and mending small troubles around our cramped, dimly lit home, always standing in the long shadow of his favored existence. Amid the relentless hum of machinery and the rough edges of our bleak surroundings, I nurtured a quiet resolve. Deep within, I vowed to prove that my worth could not be measured by comparisons or overlooked contributions. Each echo of the factory whistle and every shiver on the chilly sidewalks only stoked the flicker of determination that someday I would break free from the chains of neglect and carve out a future defined by my own courage and strength. Every day at school became a stage for relentless humiliation. Logan, ever the orchestrator of cruelty, reveled in using social media as his weapon. With the flick of a finger, he would post scandalous snapshots and fragments of my most private diary entries, turning my inner vulnerabilities into public spectacles. The hallways, once a place of learning, echoed with whispers and mocking laughter as his images spread like wildfire among our classmates. I could feel every sneer and every pointed remark chipping away at my fragile self-worth. One chilly autumn morning remains seared in my memory. I walked into class with a heavy heart, only to be met with a barrage of cruel comments and sneers. Logan stood at the center, his smirk as sharp as a razor, as he quipped, "Guess some secrets are just too juicy to keep." His words sliced through me, leaving scars deeper than I could have imagined. The relentless assault not only isolated me from my peers, but also seeded a growing fury and defiance inside. Even as tears blurred my vision, a small, determined voice whispered that I deserved better than being reduced to a spectacle of shame. That day, amidst the echoes of ridicule, I resolved to reclaim my dignity and forge a future where I would no longer be defined by the cruelty of others. High school had always been a battleground of small cruelties, but nothing prepared me for the day that reshaped my entire world. It was a crisp afternoon when I set off on my old bicycle, its rusted frame rattling along the cracked pavement. Unbeknownst to me, Logan had orchestrated a dangerous prank. In a moment of carelessness, or perhaps malicious intent, he tampered with the bike's brakes. As I pedaled down our familiar street, a sudden failure struck. My heart hammered in terror as I struggled to regain control, the world blurring into a cacophony of screeching tires and shattering glass. I crashed violently against a jagged curb, pain lancing through my limbs and fear clouding my thoughts. In that chaotic moment, my father burst from our weathered house, eyes wide with shock and an anger I had never seen before. For the first time, he stood firmly by my side, his voice cutting through the turmoil as he demanded answers. His unexpected support shattered the long-held silence that had bound me, and I realized that enduring such treachery was no longer an option. The near-fatal accident ignited a fierce determination within me, a resolve to reclaim my dignity and confront the injustice head-on. It was a turning point that marked the end of silent suffering and the beginning of a journey towards self-respect and empowerment. After the chaos of that fateful day, I found myself yearning for a way to transform pain into power. The scars left by my past fueled a determination I could no longer ignore. In the dim light of a rundown gym on the edge of town, I discovered boxing, a world where strength was earned with every drop of sweat and every precise jab. The air smelled of leather, sweat, and hope, a stark contrast to the bitterness of my childhood. As I laced up my gloves for the first time, the rhythm of the punching bag soon became a metronome for my rebirth. Each hit against the bag echoed my inner resolve, a reminder that I was no longer a victim, but a fighter reclaiming my identity. Under the stern yet supportive gaze of a seasoned coach, I learned not just the art of combat, but also the discipline of life. Boxing taught me that pain could be a powerful teacher and that every bruise was a badge of honor on the road to self-respect. With each grueling session, my body grew stronger and my mind more resilient. I discovered a catharsis in the relentless training, a space where anger transformed into focus and fear melted into determination. In that ring, I began to understand that my worth was not defined by past betrayals, but by the courage to rise, to fight, and to redefine my future on my own terms. That evening, as dusk settled and the final hues of orange bled into the darkening sky, I stepped into the house with a tired yet determined heart. The lingering adrenaline from my boxing session mingled with a subtle hope for a quiet night. But the silence that greeted me was different, tense, unnerving, as if the walls themselves held their breath. In the living room, my eyes fell on an open envelope where I had carefully stored my savings, meant for the book that symbolized a gateway to dreams I'd nurtured for years. The envelope was empty, its absence screaming of betrayal. A surge of anger and disbelief surged within me. I recalled every instance of Logan's careless cruelty, every moment I'd been forced to endure his mischief without recourse. Now, his theft was the final blow. I confronted him immediately, my voice a trembling mixture of fury and sorrow as I demanded an explanation. In the dim light, his smug smile and dismissive shrug were the starkest symbols of his contempt. I declared with unwavering resolve that his deceit would no longer dictate the terms of our home. The heated exchange, sharp words punctuating the charged silence, was more than a mere confrontation. It was a reclaiming of my dignity, a seismic shift in our family balance. In that explosive moment, the seeds of liberation took root, promising that I would no longer allow betrayal to define my future. With a decisive act of liberation behind me, I stepped into a new world, as I received a scholarship to a state university far from the clutches of my old life. The moment I crossed the threshold of the sprawling campus, I felt the weight of my past begin to lift. The sterile gray of my childhood had given way to vibrant hues of possibility and change. Every building, every tree-lined pathway whispered promises of intellectual challenge and personal growth. In the lecture halls, the murmur of passionate debates and the fervor for knowledge ignited a spark within me, a spark that had long been smothered by the shadows of familial betrayal and neglect. For the first time, I was the architect of my own destiny. I eagerly engaged in discussions, soaking up the insights of professors whose experiences broadened my perspective and peers who, like me, were searching for a sense of purpose beyond the limitations of a small industrial town. But even amid the excitement of newfound freedom, a part of me remained scarred by the echoes of past deceptions. I often spent quiet nights in my modest dorm room, penning my thoughts and dreams as a reminder of the resilience that had brought me here. In that space of solitude and determination, I vowed to transform my pain into the fuel needed to carve out an independent, fulfilling future. A future where my worth was defined solely by my own courage and hard-won wisdom. In the midst of newfound freedom and academic rigor, destiny introduced me to Madison, an unexpected spark amid the cold corridors of my past. I first noticed her during a lively seminar, where her insights radiated genuine warmth and intellect. Her laughter, light and unrestrained, cut through the monotony of lectures, and her eyes held a promise of hope I hadn't dared to dream of. After class, Our conversation flowed effortlessly, as if years of solitude were washed away in a single, unforgettable moment. Wandering through the vibrant, leaf-strewn campus paths in autumn, we discovered shared passions and silent understandings. Madison listened intently as I recounted my struggles, never once judging but offering quiet encouragement that slowly mended the fractures within me. Weekend adventures soon became our sanctuary. We traveled to picturesque New England towns where rustic charm and the crisp air of early fall created an intimate backdrop for our burgeoning love. With every shared secret and every heartfelt smile, we wove dreams of a future untouched by the bitterness of our pasts. In her embrace, I found not only passion and tenderness, but a promise of renewal, a life where love healed the deepest wounds and lit the way forward. For a brief, shining moment, life had begun to heal. Madison's laughter and gentle touch had mended old wounds, and I dared to believe in a future free from past betrayals. That hope, however, was shattered one cold evening, when I inadvertently stumbled upon a secret too painful to ignore. I had lingered near the campus cafe, seeking solace in a quiet corner when hushed voices caught my attention. There, away from prying eyes, I recognized a familiar cadence, the unmistakable tone of Madison, soft yet conspiratorial, intertwined with the unmistakable timbre of Logan's voice. Their conversation, laced with intimate familiarity and stolen smiles, confirmed a betrayal I never saw coming. The shock was overwhelming. What first seemed like a minor misunderstanding soon revealed itself as a clandestine romance, nurtured in the shadows of family gatherings and unexpected weekend getaways. I recalled the warmth of our shared moments, only to feel that very flame turned into an icy dagger of deceit. The realization that the one person I had trusted to love me was entwined with the brother who had tormented me for years left me reeling. In that heart-wrenching instant, the world around me blurred as I grappled with the dual sting of abandonment and betrayal, a dual agony that threatened to undo everything I had fought so hard to build. The courtroom became an arena of stark revelations, where every whispered secret and every shred of evidence tore down the fragile facade I'd built around my life. After the agonizing divorce, the paternity test arrived like a sledgehammer to my heart. It confirmed that the child I had nurtured and loved was not mine by blood. In that cold, clinical moment, every cherished illusion collapsed, exposing a family web woven with deceit and half-truths. My parents, long masters of ambiguity, finally revealed their true colors. My father, whose loyalty had always been as shifting as the industrial winds of our hometown, had revised his final wishes. In an unexpected twist, nearly $2 million was allocated to me, a vindication of my struggles and a symbolic severance from the past's toxic bonds. In contrast, Logan, whose betrayal had scarred me for years, was left with nothing more than a token sum, a paltry remainder that underscored the emptiness of his promises. This legal battle was not merely a fight over money. It was a war for identity, a quest to reclaim dignity from the ashes of shattered trust. As the gavel struck and final judgments were passed, the collapse of long-held illusions opened a painful yet liberating path. I stood amidst the ruins of my former life, resolute in the belief that justice, though bitter, was the first step toward rediscovering my true self. The dawn of a new life found me in a city that pulsed with promise, a vibrant contrast to the industrial shadows of my past. Determined to escape the confines of old wounds, I moved to a bustling metropolis where every street corner whispered stories of reinvention and hope. In a modest apartment overlooking neon-lit avenues, I began the slow, deliberate work of rediscovering who I truly was. Therapy became my refuge, a safe space where I confronted the lingering ghosts of childhood neglect and betrayal. In the quiet hours of weekly sessions, I learned that forgiveness was not about erasing pain, but understanding its lessons. I transformed my old journals, once repositories of humiliation, into chronicles of resilience, each page a testament to survival and growth. I returned to the boxing gym, where every punch and every drop of sweat reminded me that strength comes not from the absence of fear, but from the courage to face it. The ring was no longer a battleground for proving my worth. It was a ritual of renewal, a place where I celebrated each small victory over the scars of my past. Surrounded by newfound friends who offered genuine support and shared dreams of a better tomorrow, I embraced creative pursuits that allowed me to express the depth of my emotions. With every sunrise, I felt the chains of yesterday loosen, replaced by the steady beat of hope and self-acceptance. In this chapter of rebirth, I discovered that true freedom lies in the courage to let go, to rebuild, and to paint a future defined by honesty, independence, and an unyielding commitment to personal growth.